So after I gave out this quiz, I rewrote the problem. And this problem says 8 kids got to go to the water park for $96. How many can go for $192? But the original problem, the one that you guys all took a quiz on, it actually says $132. So it says 8 kids got to go to the water park for $96. How many could go for $132? And so we associate our numbers. I know that $96 goes with 8 kids. It actually doesn't matter if I write these on the top or the bottom. You should get the same result either way. And then the question is, how many kids go with 132? So $132 goes with how many kids? That's what we're trying to solve here. So when I do this math, there are so many different ways that I can do it. But let's see. One of the ones, so I just think because we've been working on equations, one of the best ways to think about this one, or the one that I guess I would like to review for this, is to think about this like an equation. I know that I have things on the bottom that need to get, I need to get rid of these division parts here. I want to get all of my x's on one side and all of my y's on the other. So if I want to get rid of this, if I want to get rid of the x on the bottom, I would have to multiply by x because it's being divided. So to undo dividing, I multiply this side by x, and those cancel each other out. Now you may be thinking, well, what happens to the x? Well, the thing is, in order to keep it balanced, I also have to multiply the other side by x. So this also gets multiplied by x, and now I have 96x divided by 8. And now if I want to get rid of this divided by 8, I have to multiply it by, I have to multiply by 8 to get rid of it. So multiplying by 8 cancels that out, but then I have to multiply the other side by 8. And so what I ended up with is an equation that says 96 times x equals 132 times 8. And to simplify this, I first multiply 132 times 8, which is 1,056, and that is equal to 96x. And then to get rid of the 96, it's 96 times x. So if I divide 96 x's into 96 parts, I get 1x. And then I have to divide 1056 by 96. And then I get 11. So 11 kids can go to the water park. There are lots of ways to solve this problem. I think I chose the one that uses the most math that we've done this year, but there are tons of other ways that you could have solved this, and any one of them was fine. If you came up with 11 kids, you got this one right. I'm going to use these other ones to sort of go over other ways of solving these proportions. So another way is called the butterfly method, and the butterfly method is basically one where you look for, you cross multiply. So we're looking at the things in these two different circles, and let's see, I'll actually change one of the colors. So in the green circle, I have 12 and 72, and if this was an equation, I would multiply by 72 on both sides to get rid of that 72 that's being divided, so those would cancel out. The butterfly method is just a way of reminding me that to get rid of this, when I rewrite this, I will really just be doing 72 times 12. So I'm just multiplying the numbers that were sort of across from each other. And then on the other side, to get rid of this 30, I have to multiply it by 30 because it's being divided. So I'm going to multiply this side by 30, and those will cancel out. And I multiply this side by 30, and what I have left with here is n and 30. So I will get 30n on this side, and then I just solve this. So I know that 7 times 12, or 72 times 12, well, I know that 72 times 2 is 144. I know that 72 times 10 is 720. So when I add those together, 720 plus 144 is going to equal 864 equals 30 times n is just 30n. And then if I want to get n by itself, I divide by 30 and I divide by 30, and we should come up with 28.8. So 30n divided by 30 is just 1n, and then 864 divided by 30 is 28.8. I do that on my calculator. Okay, so for the next one, there's another method called the C method, which is sort of like finding the scale factor. The C method, I start here and I just draw a C around like this, and I know I am going to be, I know that if I want to figure out what do I need to multiply something by to get this number, I need to know what do I multiply 40 by to get this number. So in order to figure that out, I am going to do 12 divided by 40. Right, so here's 12 divided by 40, and that's going to give me the scale factor. When I divide this into 40 pieces, it's going to tell me what do I multiply this side by. And so when I do 12 divided by 40, I come up with 0.3. So this is my scale factor. It means that if I wanted to go this way, 40 times 0.3 is going to give me 12. So then I just use this information and I multiply the other quantity by that. So 12 divided by 40 is 0.3, and then 0.3 times 70 is going to give me my answer for this one, and that is, so then I'm going to multiply this side times 0.3, and that will give me 21. So I know that T has to equal 21. And then let's see, and then part C, problem C, I know that, let's see, what's another method that I can use? I guess this is sort of like the butterfly method again, but if I want to get rid of my denominators, I multiply this side by x, and those cancel out. Then I have to multiply this side by x. And then I multiply one side by 23, and those cancel out. I have to multiply the other side by 23. This is just standard solving equations method. So when I rewrite this, I get 112x equals 7.3 times 23. And when I do 7.3 times 23, I come up with 167.9 equals 112x, and then if I want to get x by itself, I have to use the inverse operation. So I divide by 112 on both sides, and I will get this very long decimal that is 1.4999107. It's got a lot of stuff on it, but if you actually round it up to the nearest hundredth, which is what I asked you to, you can see that this is the hundredths place. And so the question is, so I see that it's 0.049, but then what do? I have to round this, I have to round the 9 up. So actually, this 49 actually rounds up to 50 because there's a 9 right there. So if I rounded this up to the nearest hundredth, I should get 1.50. Now, there was a problem while I was doing this one, and some students had calculators that were rounding, and they were getting, instead of, some students were doing this in a way where they were using the C method. And those students, when they did, if you had certain calculators and you did 7.3 divided by 112, you were getting strange numbers that were rounded to the nearest hundredth. And then when you would do that and multiply it by 23, you would get a random number here. I think one of them was 1.61, and one of them was like 1.38 or something, or 1.39. They were off by just a little bit, and it was because of a rounding error. All of the thinking was good, but it wasn't even their fault. It was that the calculator was rounding strangely, and I ran into it myself. And so if you came up with either of those, if you came up with either of these two answers that I already have, or if I think the other ones were 1.61 and 1.39, I think. If you came up with either of those, I still counted it correct because I don't think you did anything wrong. I think your calculator was doing something wrong. Anyways, so that's how you do 1 and 2. I'm going to stop this video and come back for problem 3 and continuing on the other side.